Hi, Persis.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for accepting my invite for my catch up series and actually agreeing to be a part of this program that I'm hosting currently. I cannot believe that someone of your caliber actually agreed to be a part of the session. And for an M&E and for an media and entertainment lawyer of your repute, the pleasure is completely mine to host someone like you in today's show.
Thank you so much, Maitri, for inviting me.
Pleasure. The pleasure is completely mine, Persis. Persis, I'm pretty sure you're not alien to the current scenario that we are all in, the lockdown and everything. And though we have our work to keep us busy, but more often than not, we have to admit, apart from cooking and trying out and uploading our recipes on Instagram, there's definitely our subscriptions of Netflix, Hotstar, or an Amazon Prime, which is keeping our sanities intact, right? So.
Correct.
When I watch a series or when I watch something online, as a lawyer, I'm always wondering, what is the journey of a film? Like legally, what will be their journey so far? So if you could take me through a film's journey, because who better than you to speak about it?
So actually, I totally agree with you that in today's lockdown situation, we are glued to our TV screens and the OTT platforms since our theaters are shut. But of course, once life will resume back and both the windows will be open. So I'll just quickly, walk you through the journey where how we as lawyers are trying to protect the content right from the start to finish. So the first step in this is pre-production. What is pre-production is when a writer walks into your studio and says that I have a bounded script. Sometimes he has a bounded script, or most of the times he comes up with a concept or with a story idea. Now, depending on that narration, what the director or the writer gives, usually it's a writer who eventually wants to become a director. So whatever the writer tells us, so we try to balance it out, as in after listening to the narration, that what is the genre, what's the story, who can be the lead cast, does our audience are hungry for this kind of a content? Is it a biopic, it's a commercial masala film, or it's an action, it's a thriller, it's a murder mystery? Everything depends on that. So once if we decide that okay, finally we will go ahead with this particular concept, the first thing as a lawyer, what we do is we enter into a writer's agreement. We engage the writer. We also enter into the concept acquisition agreement. We acquire the concept if that person is comfortable, because most of the time the writers have already registered their script with the Screen Association. So we do a lot of due diligence that where is the literary work pending, or it is in whose ownership, because as per copyright there's a difference between an author and the owner. Though they are the authors, eventually we have to become the owners. So that process goes on. Now we do the pre-production. What is pre-production is, now the script is written, the talents are attached. We have to do a pre-production. It means that the talent has to go through a lot of training themselves before coming into the final shooting stage. The dialogues have to be polished. The director has been appointed. Locations, there's a lot of time which goes in recce. Recce means you go to the location and see whether will this suit my movie or not. Because of course we have VFX in place, but most of the times it's better to have a natural location. Right. It gives a lot of background to your existing story and the character. So we go through the entire procedure. It takes around 6 to 7 months. Now, depending on who is the character and who is the talent. Sometimes the actors have to build up their body. They have to become more muscular. Sometimes they have to lose a lot of weight. If it's a actress-driven film, then the girls have to maybe be more muscular, or they have to be more. Everything depends on the role. Sometimes they have to learn martial arts. Most of the time they have to learn the dialects. I have worked on movies where the talent had to take around 4 to 5 months just to learn the dialect of that particular content.
Okay, and what would be your role in aspects like that? Like, how would be?
Not much. We don't get into pre-production, but we make sure that during the pre-production stage of a content, we finish all the agreements. because
Right.
that is the major time when everything is getting signed off. And we are in touch with the talent managers and the lawyers negotiating the clauses. But we make sure that during the pre-production time, all our agreements are being signed.
Right. I guess so. For your job will actually start mostly from the post-production onwards, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Our job starts from the pre-production.
Pre-production. Okay, right.
Post is last. So pre-production is when you start. So when the director is attached, actor is attached. Actor will be very hesitant. Of course, we have a great relationship with the talent, but they are very hesitant to start working till the time the paperwork is not done.
As should be the case in every industry.
some heroes have to grow their hair or their beard. So these things take a lot of time.
Yeah, truly, because theirs is such a physical, what do you call, like it's the toll on their.
There's a complete turnover from one character to another character.
The physicality aspect of it is a lot.
Yeah, and Ranveer has mastered his acting skills and his journey so far. Every film he does is so unique.
I know, I'm also a fan.
But he needs time to, make up to that body, to that physique, to learning sports. There are so many things involved in that. So this is the pre-production time. So what we as lawyers do is we make sure that we have the list of the contracts which are required and start sending them the formats and get it signed in this 4 to 6 months period, so that everybody is relaxed when they go on the shoot, because shoot most of the times does not happen in Bombay.
Right. Yeah. That's also there.
And then we cannot go running behind the talent. Please sign the contract now. It doesn't look nice. It's like I have been appointed by somebody and my paperwork is not closed.
That's true.
During the pre-production, but during the pre-production, the talent goes through their physical enhancement as well as dialect, makeup. It takes a long time. Each day they come and we have to. In our production houses, they come, they practice, they put their makeup on, then they see if this is not looking nice. So it's a journey which goes on for 4 to 6 months. It's like that. And they practice the dialogues. Even I, as a lawyer, I read the script first.
Truly.
Because there are sometimes it has brands involved. It has some kind of information or some dialogues which tomorrow might land us up into the litigation. So I make notes of the script and then I give it to the management.
Truly noted. Actually, I think Thank you for that answer, Persis. I guess when we are watching. Perfect. I guess when we are watching the content, it doesn't really flash in my mind that there is so much that goes behind, and the journey of the film is so deep. And speaking the lines of content,
I'm talking about only one film. At some point in time, I handle like 3 to 4. I've handled like 3 films which are on floor plus web series. So imagine, and one film, nearly we end up making 100 to 110 to sometimes 250 contracts.
Oh my God, that's a bulk lot.
One film, that's a bulk.
Truly. And speaking in lines of the content, Persis, how is this content protected legally? As in, if I were to put on my lawyer's hat and think that how is this content protected legally? If you can take me through that.
Yeah. So since we are talking about the pre-production, then I'll take you to the production stage. During the pre-production, only when a person comes with a bounded script or comes with a concept or comes with an idea is not protected under copyright law unless it is being converted into expression. Correct?
Yes.
So idea is not protected. So we tell them that, come up with some literary work or write it down. In today's day and age, when we do web series, we tell them, please develop a Bible. And then we have to engage them so we enter into option agreement or a writer's agreement, depending on deal to deal, concept acquisition. Now we have created so many types of flavors, I should say, to safeguard the talent's interest and our studio's interest. So each day, we have to revise our clauses. So that everything happens at the pre-production stage. Then we move on to the production stage of a film. Production is nothing but aapka shooting days. It varies from 22 days till maximum 90 days.
22 days to maximum 90 days. Wow, that's like a quarter almost.
And if it's a big budget movie, so maximum 100 days. Nobody wants to shoot beyond 100 days because these actors have to move on to the next film.
Right. That's also.
So because we've done our recce in the pre-production period, we know where to go. We know, so even when we take the talent to shoot at a particular location, we have to take care of their travel, their meals, their safety, everything. So we are sure that it will not extend beyond these days, because then accordingly we have to book the flights, the train, the hotels, everything needs to be taken. The cameras, the lights. There's a lot of work which happens on the shoot as well.
Got it.
So that's the production stage. Then once the shoot is complete. Now even after the shoot is complete, if we are going theatrical, then to theatrically release it, it takes a period of minimum 3 months to 6 months sometimes. Because during that time it goes through post-production. Post-production means to the lab, editing, there's color correction, there is sound, there's design. The director has a lot of cuts because he's shot with a rough footage, and then the final looks should be much better.
Truly.
So that movie, depending on which lab you go to and how much is the edit actually required. So it requires around 4 to 6 months, maximum 6 to 7 months for the film to come out of the lab.
Right, it's quite a process and quite a journey and quite a.
So then also I make sure that the content is not given to the lab till the time my VFX agreement is not done with the particular lab.
Right, that's the lawyer speak.
Yeah, and
that's the lawyer speak I'm looking for.
Because the rough content is given to them. The raw footage is actually given to them. And that is my entire IP.
Person, you mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned about talents and how it's a two-way street where their rights also need to be protected as much as the production houses. Now, speaking about talents and the artists, I want to know that if at all in future I am to draft an agreement for an artist, okay, being like assuming I get a chance to work in a production house as well, what are a few boilerplate clauses that I need to keep in mind when I'm drafting an agreement, say for an artist?
So you're asking what clauses actually I make sure that it goes in the actor agreements. So as lawyers, first is the name clause, then recital clause. But in the definition part, I make sure that I define the role extremely well. The name of the character is already assigned. There should not be confusion in the mind that I'm going to play the lead and I'm going to be the supportive or whatever. So the role, so they are obviously given the script to read. So the exact role should be properly defined. And second definition is creative rights. That my director will have the final say in the way your role as a character will be portrayed. Because initially that character is also my intellectual IP.
Right.
My IP which I need to protect till the end. So in so there are 10 to 12 definitions. Then we go down to obligations. So there all the dates are exactly mentioned. What will be your pre-production dates? What will be your production dates, your shooting dates? What will be your promotional days? Because they travel city to cities. We do a lot of shows. They go on these, live TV shows. Kapil Sharma show, then the dance show, to promote the film. So those many days. And so their obligations have to be specified very categorically.
Right.
And simple language. We don't, include a lot of legalities or
legalese rather. There's no legalese involved over there. It's unnecessary in those cases.
No. They're very simple. Yeah. And then we move on to the consideration clause. Depending on, so they are always paid in tranches. The actors, every talent, all 200 people working on the film or web series are paid in tranches. So then the tranches are laid out, and if any actor, it's been agreed that there is a back end, so then there is a definition of variable fees which has been laid out. And how finally that portion of the percentage will be given to that talent is also mentioned very well in the agreement. So there's no ambiguity. It's a very clear agreement.
Yeah.
Then after that, I think we move on to termination clauses. If they breach, what are the repercussions, and what happens if we breach? And finally, we take care is indemnity. We try to not give them any injunctive relief, right? Yeah, and indemnity should be taken care, because nowadays what's happening is that the actors also get legal notice for the roles they play.
Yes, that is a trend that anywhere people get offended
That's the
by
trend. So
representations, and they will definitely
yeah,
like
so
PIL.
their lawyers always want us to indemnify them, that it is you who want my talent to play this role, that you will have to
Right.
indemnify the actor in case, God forbid, if there is any third party claim on them. And of course, there are like tons of representation and warranties from the actor's side, that you will come on time and you will do this and that, and those run into like 12 to 15 points.
Oh wow!
But all these agreements depend. Yeah. All these agreements depend on the volume, the role they are playing, because most of our films also have 1 day per day talent.
Oh wow!
So I have now dissected. If it's a 1 day, then there is a release form. If it's of course, if it's a lead actor, then everything gets covered. If it's just for 2 days or for a very short period of time, then the format of the agreement is different. So the production team has to constantly be in touch with the legal team to keep informing that what is the bandwidth of the actor they are looking at, and how sensitive that role is going to be.
Right, and here it's only the artists who we get to see on the screen. What about the people, the musicians, and the talent as such? Is that also?
Yeah, we have we have music label agreements as well. We sign agreements with the music label to whom the music rights are sold, and we enter into talent agreement, music agreement with these respective musicians.
Wow, thank you so much for the answer, Percy. That was very, very detailed and extremely helpful. I was literally making mental notes to keep in mind. Like what I gauged is that avoid legalese, make sure that it's a crisp draft, simple language, and the fact that you have to get into so much detail.
They are not lawyers, and the actors are, they're so nice people that they're not lawyers. Nowadays, they're represented by managers and lawyers and all of that, but why we always end up also protecting them, their rights, because they are after all creative people, and it is very important to handle the creative people.
Yeah, the creative minds need to be handled with a lot more care than.
Absolutely, and that's why we make our language in the agreement so simple that they don't have to further go to any lawyer.
Truly,
and that's yeah. So they call me directly saying, Percy, can you please help us understand what does this mean? And if I'm okay, or if I want some changes, will you please do the needful, and we can sign the contract. So that's how it keeps flowing. Otherwise, managing 200 contracts will be very difficult.
Definitely. I mean, just by hearing about it, Persis, I'm wondering like the bulk of work which will be and that makes you the person that you are. Despite having so much of a workload, you still have such a lovely smiling face, and it's so amazing to see that. And I think a lot of young lawyers would be encouraged just by listening to you. And for their sake, I have one question. It just came in my mind.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a lot of intellectual property over here. So as a young lawyer, like there are people who are my age or maybe younger who want to aspire, want to be in the media and entertainment industry, what are a few IP concepts that they need to brush up before they get into or they enter into this industry?
So I'm also, I give lectures in the law colleges, law schools. So, even in my lectures, I keep telling the students that this is a very dynamic industry, and it has evolved over a period of time. It is challenging, yes, but when I had joined, it was not that competitive, if I say, But as a law student, if you want to join this industry, right at the beginning of the session, I said you have to have a lot of passion. So, it's not that only you should be legally sound. First of all, you need to be a little crazy in your own way. You need to have a lot of passion for the content. A lot of passion. Because there's so much out there to see, to watch, to study. Because there are times when I study films. I've studied films when I went to Los Angeles. I've done my master's only in media and entertainment law. So content, business goes hand in hand. And the legalities which are involved is, of course, because all the law colleges offer this intellectual property subject to the law students. But in that, they have to study copyright, they have to study trademark, they have to study patents. Primarily copyright, to understand that how in our industry, when a writer walks into a studio with that bounded script, that itself is an IP. When the actor acts, when the musician writes, when the director directs, each minute an IP is created. So it's a whole bundle of intellectual property rights which finally gets exploited on these windows, which is the theatre, OTT, plane, wherever. But the students should actually read a lot of agreements. They should work with the IP law firms or studios as interns and actually see whether they could pursue this as a career, not just jump into it because I come across so many students, they just say I love watching films and as a lawyer I want to do something, but eventually, because you need a lot of patience, people handling, because it's a very sensitive industry, if I may say. It's not structured, like IT or banks or insurance or shipping. It's not that structured industry.
Right.
You deal with actor A or a director A, the dynamics are different. But when you deal with somebody with a B director or a C actor or a heroine, it's extremely different. Even my drafts are different. First I ask who's the talent, what is the production house, who's the director. Basis on that, then my paperwork starts churning out.
Wow, that's quite a thing. It's very encouraging, but I guess it's a bit of a reality check as well. It's almost like the dilemma that most foodies have. It's not just the consumption of the item. You need to know how to prepare that and have the passion to make it as well. So I guess young lawyers out there should really keep a watchful eye on the passion that is required.
And releasing one content anywhere, it's a journey of 1.5 years. I've been working on films for more than 2 years, 3 years.
Wow.
So a lot of patience. Yeah. And there's a lot of due diligence required, just because you want to do something, and as a lawyer, we are there to raise red flags. I always do a lot of due diligence on what is the story, why is it. I ask a lot of questions. So I go with a list of questions to the writer or to the person who's got the concept, because it will make my drafting easier.
Correct.
But we need to have that intellect.
Exactly. Personally, what I notice is you have had an illustrious journey so far. You are literally there's so much there which you can share with us. Is there anything in particular you would like to mention about your journey? Because I'm pretty sure you've had, and I've had the honor of meeting you personally and having shared stage with you. So I know that you've had an incredulous journey. So could you take me through them for the sake of my viewers, please? Like, what has been your journey so far?
So I graduated. If I can just say about how I started as a young lawyer.
Please, it's all yours.
So I graduated in 2007 from the law college in Bombay, and I got an opportunity with AdLabs. So I was working there for 3 years. That time the industry was coming up. So at AdLabs I could do a lot of business theatre agreements, then actor agreements, then digital cinema agreements, then the post-production agreements. So for me, it was a learning curve at that point in time. So AdLabs was my base, where I thought that after 3 years, I could realize that yes, as a young lawyer, so before that I was working with a law firm in litigation. And from a litigation, I've switched to M&E. So after 3 years, I could figure out that yes, this is really what I want to do. Because of course, as a person also, I'm very challenging. It's not that, I just love to go to work from 9 to 5 or I'm not a kind of a person who likes monotonous work. I love to put my hands into various things and learn each day. So from there, then I moved on to digital cinema, I think, where we, as that time it was Scrabble, now it is UFO. And we made sure that the content which today Indian audiences can watch in the theatre have been, sent by the studios in LA, 6 major studios. And we did the agreements with them. And the journey moved on. But eventually I wanted to get my master's into this industry, because in India then we had this course in Nalsar College, Hyderabad. But those 4 subjects are only restricted to TV and cable. And I wanted a little more practical experience. So then I moved to LA. I studied filmmaking. I studied how the IP is to be protected, how we need to negotiate contracts when with a writer, director, concept writer, actors. And then I came back. And then I've worked at various places. And then since 4 years, I've been working with Reliance Big Entertainment. So even at Reliance, we have a lot of the best work I think I have done is at Reliance, because right from production agreements till assignment, till option, till MOUs, till letters, it's a big wave, I should say. Each day we walk in the office and you never know what's going to come to you.
Wow, that's
But
very.
each day is challenging. It's not that yesterday I did that production agreement, so today also I have to do that only. It's not like that. Every day is something different. And when you have 4 movies on the floor at the same time, the volume of agreements which my team has to churn out is way too much. Because nobody is waiting. The talent will not come on the set till the time they have not signed the paperwork.
Wow, that's just to be in the thing where you are the movers and shakers of what you call of an entire dimension, like a film or like a web series or a content. It's such a challenging thing, and it's such a rewarding thing to see. I mean, just hearing you talk about it literally gave me that wow. Because sometimes what happens in-house counsel roles is we end up being a little complacent. At least, I mean, I've heard this from people. I haven't experienced any kind of complacency in my career so far. I mean, I'm way too young in my, it's just been 6 years for me in my career, and I cannot claim complacency in any stage. But to hear this and to hear, because M&E, media and entertainment industry, is something that I haven't really thought of that way. But to see that how dynamic it is, and that too from the perspective of an in-house counsel, because law firms have a different perspective of it, but an in-house counsel,
totally.
The way you portrayed and the way you said, it sounds so interesting and sounds so encouraging. I'm almost envious of you for the fact that I didn't choose a career in M&E. It almost makes me wonder that.
You're always welcome to join the industry. But yeah, as you rightly said, the law firms look at it at a different perspective, but we as in-house counsel look at it as our own product. It's like you working for OnePlus. OnePlus was your own product. It's like our own product, and we need to make sure that our IPs are secured, and we are commercializing it at every single stage, because we've invested so heavily in that product that eventually we need our returns.
Truly, and personally, I must tell you that conversations with you are always so heartfelt, and you literally touch a chord. I guess this comes from the infectious passion that you have, and having met you and interacting with you. I mean, that is so incredible. The fact that you actually converted that passion into something so, lucrative, and something which can be taken, which can be reproduced, and people can learn from you. There's a lot, and I think that's credible in itself. And yes, I guess more credit needs to be given to in-house counsels who are actually in the industry, such as the media entertainment or the tech industry, or this is exactly what I aspire to do through my series. I want the in-house counsels to come out there and show what kind of work we do. It's not, because even when we see series, it's always about a law firm that is portrayed. I want somebody to make something on, like, you can actually do that, right? You can actually push this agenda and see if someone comes up with a series or something for like in-house counsels, like a show, like proper.
Of course, that's why I'll definitely touch base with my existing in-house counsels who are working in my industry with different organizations.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to that. Perfect. And I think on that note, that brings me to the end of my session. Thank you so much for being a part of this Versus, and I just hope and pray that I get a chance to meet you in person. I know right now you're in Mumbai. The only chance I'll get to meet you is once the lockdown is properly lifted and we are together in a seminar again, and not a webinar, hopefully, but this time I would want to meet you in person once again. It would be such a pleasure, Persis.
Meet you in person. Same.
Thank you so much for this, Persis.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting.
Anytime, Persis. The pleasure has been completely mine.